The new Wahoo Kickr Core Zwift One uses a simplified cog and Zwift's virtual shifting for broad compatibility for 8 to 12 speed bikes. It's built on Wahoo's reliable Kickr Core platform. This product means a few things. One, a truce of sorts between these two companies, Zwift and Wahoo, who were legally battling last year. But two, and more important to you, a $600 or €600 smart trainer that works with a lot of different bikes without having to mess with cassettes, and it comes with a free year of Zwift. Also, you can pop off the cog and put on a normal cassette. If this Kickr Core looks a lot like the existing Kickr Core, that's because it is the existing Kickr Core with the addition of the cog, the click shifter, and a firmware update so that this unit can use virtual shifting when on the Zwift platform. In this video, I'll tell you some details about how this thing works, how it compares to the outgoing Zwift Hub, the short-lived foray by Zwift into hardware. Tell you how it compares to other Wahoo Kickr smart trainers. Tell you about my power meter testing of like a Quark meter versus this, who this is good for, who it's not so good for, what I like and what I don't like. I'll also talk about how to set it up. It's pretty simple. 1 wrench, 4 bolts, and then you figure out which of the end caps you need. And I'll give you my take on the Zwift Play, these little remote control shifters, which do not come with this, but can be bought for $100 and either work with this or any smart trainer. Let's talk big picture briefly. Smart trainer, as compared to a dumb trainer, works in tandem with a software like Zwift or Trainer Road to control the resistance at the rear to either mimic the undulations in a virtual course or to control the specifics of a workout and to measure your power output. Direct drive smart trainers like this one require you to remove your rear wheel and then mount the bike to the trainer. Seems simple, right? And for the most part it is. However, there are a number of details that can trip people up. One being the number of speeds or cogs on the bike. You have to have normally a cassette that matches your bike. And then 2, you need to make sure the axle spacing and style is aligned with your style of bike. So that could either be a quick release, like the traditional older school version, or that could be through axle, which requires these end caps, and then you pick the width of a 142 or a 148. The Wahoo Kickr Zwift Core One eliminates one of those variables, being the cassette, in that this cog ported over from Zwift's technology works with Zwift claims anything from 8 to 12 speed bikes. I tested it on my daughter's 7-speed bike and it also works just fine. So what's left is figuring out which of the axles you have, either quick release or through axle, and then which of the spacings of through axle. And then once those are popped on, you are off to the virtual races. Once the bike is on the trainer, you need to use your shifter to align the chain and the derailleur so that it runs roughly in line with the cog. You can eyeball it and you can also hear when it's aligned or when it's not aligned. From there, you need to make sure you've got the latest firmware so that the trainer is talking to the click. And then once in Zwift, you pair the click to either your laptop or your tablet, your Apple TV, whatever it is you're using to interact with Zwift. Once in the game, this click is your shifter, and you've got 24 gears, from a super easy tiny gear to a very difficult large gear. This guy you can mount with rubber bands anywhere on the bike. When you're doing workouts in Zwift, the up-down buttons control the percentage of difficulty for the workout. You can buy this now in Europe, UK, and the US on Zwift's website or Wahoo's website, and it should be available in Australia and Canada late March, according to the two companies. To be clear, Zwift's Hub One smart trainer is going away. You can still buy the normal Wahoo Kickr Core with your choice of cassette for the same price, and that also includes a year of Zwift. You can also use these Play remotes to control the shifting on this trainer, and the Play remotes do a few other things. You can steer, you can brake. I don't know why you want to brake in a virtual world, but you can do that. And then critically, you can use the buttons for things like power-ups and to navigate through the various menus. I was pretty lukewarm on these guys when they came out last summer, in part because it was summertime and I didn't care about riding inside, but have since used these for a number of months and really appreciate it, especially in events, just pressing a button on the bike instead of putting my sweaty paws all over my keyboard. They are a little bulky, and so it does compromise a bit your hand position on the bike, but for the most part, it's handy to have the controls there at your sweaty fingertips. You can also use these separate from any type of trainer. It won't control the shifting on the trainer, of course, but you can use these to control the steering, the braking, and the menu navigation. These are $100. Okay, so how does this thing feel to ride? It feels pretty good. The Kickr Core is the second tier. The Wahoo Kickr is my go-to trainer down there on the floor. Love how that thing feels. I love the fact that you can fold it down and shuffle it around. Like this design, it has plug-ins for quick release or through axle, and it's the original Kickr. The top end Kickr has slightly better power measurement. It's claimed plus or minus 1%, whereas this is claimed plus or minus 2.5%. Tested this against the Core, and especially over longer durations of like a minute or more, the averages were pretty spot on. Not that the Quark is the absolute truth, but it's always good when things align. Like all the Kickr trainers on erg mode, when you're doing workouts, it gives you very right-angled bar graphs, which can be somewhat gratifying to see. It's also not really realistic. You're not doing that, perfectly smooth power. So that's just a function of Kickr tech. But in my brief testing, I found the power to be very good, very useful for training, like most of the Kickr trainers that I've used over the years. Having a big flywheel also helps contribute to that simulated outdoor feel, both when you're initially accelerating, it feels like you're dragging your body up to speed, and then also once it's rolling along, it feels like it's easier to stay on top of the gear compared to, say, old school dumb trainer with the fan resistance unit, where almost as soon as you stop pedaling, the thing comes to a standstill and it just feels kind of dead. So this is, like other Kickrs, has a good feel to it. A couple other pieces you're not getting because it's the second tier, not the top end. One, it doesn't fold down as compactly. You can see if I can do this without breaking myself. This is as compact as it folds. So a slightly larger footprint than the main Kickr. And then also you don't have the same type of adjustability at the feet. I was able to get the thing rocking when intentionally trying to buck it around, but in normal riding, it's good and sturdy. Also, as I just demonstrated by nearly pinching my fingers, there's no handle on the thing the way there is the current top-end Kickr. There's also, in the Kickr family, the Wahoo Kickr Move, which the thing slides back and forth, and that's another level up entirely. For me, my preference, again, as far as best all-around trainer, is the Wahoo Kickr, not the Move, but just the primary one. So who's this for? Well, it's not a replacement for the super high Zoot. Like if you've got some fancy pants tax trainer or the top-end Kickr, this isn't an upgrade by any means. However, it is, I think, a very good option for someone who's looking to get a smart trainer for the first time and has multiple bikes in the household, whether one individual with multiple bikes or people with a family. Like I was just talking to my brother-in-law Ty the other day about what would be a good setup for him and my sister Sarah and their two boys, because they all have different bikes, different cassette options, different rear wheel configurations. With all of them, you could pop them on here with just the change of the end caps. So this Zwift cog and click, relatively new technology. It's been working fine for me. What's the future of it? Will this be a flash in the pan just like Zwift's trainer was? I don't know. I don't have a crystal ball. However, Wahoo Kickr has been around for a while, so I see the hardware as a good investment that's not going anywhere. And also, Zwift is quite keen to get new folks onto their platform. So I would suspect that this would be around for some time. Again, If for whatever reason this goes the way of the dodo bird, you can remove the cog and then put on a normal cassette. And then this is just a regular Wahoo Kickr Core. Let me show you how this cog comes off. These are the feedback pliers that I love. Basically it comes off like any cassette, except it's cleaner. And then there's your free hub body where you can pop on your regular cassette that pairs with your bike. This is the same thing that was on the original and very short-lived Zwift trainer. Easy as that. So that is the skinny on the Wahoo Kickr Core Zwift One, the trainer with a very long name, but a pretty broad compatibility. What questions do you have? Put them in the comments below and I will do my best to answer. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing. And whatever speed bicycle you have, from 8 to 12 as prescribed by Zwift, or even 7 speed in my experience, enjoy the ride.